What is up, everyone? Welcome. It is 12 o'clock exactly on the dot on a Tuesday. That means my name is Trevor, and this is Build with the CEO. Now, one thing before we get into today's content, we're going to be talking all about front end offers, low barrier offers, whatever you want to call it. But before we do that, we launched something pretty awesome at Coach Catalyst. So I want to make sure that you are aware of this opportunity. And here it is. So, well, we'll see if it shares. Did it share? There we go. Here's what we got going on. We just launched the Future of Coaching Virtual Summit, and we're bringing on 7 different speakers. Actually, I think it's 8 different speakers. We've got talks starting at 9 a.m. going all the way until 7 p.m. We've got juggernauts like Jordan Duggar, Jason Phillips, and we're going to be talking about the future of coaching because the coaching industry is changing really, really quickly right now. And so Jordan's going to be talking about some marketing things. Jason's going to be talking on some medical wellness. I'm going to be talking about incredible client experiences and really premium client experiences, and ultimately what's not going to change inside of this industry. Kane's going to be talking about AI and how that integrates. Mike T. Nelson's going to bring the nerd with some HRV and how to basically take all this wearable data and make sense of it for clients. Jared runs an incredible business, and I want to learn a little bit about how he's preparing his business for the future. Mike Reese is all about blood work, so he's going to talk about labs and how you can use them as your secret weapon. And then finally, Will is going to be helping us basically learn how to use AI to automate a lot of our repetitive tasks. So it's called the Future of Coaching. It's our virtual summit, and it is taking place on March 4th, 2026, about 3 weeks from now. And we're going to start at 9 a.m. Central. It is free. It is absolutely free for you to attend. Yes, we do have a VIP upsell because I actually got every speaker to give me something that they normally sell and put it into the VIP bundle. So there's a ton of value. I think it's like $700 worth of value in there. Courses, stuff from Mike. Jason's going to be doing a GLP-1 class. Will's going to be doing a kind of an AI class. And so there's a lot of extra learning if someone does want that as part of the Super Coach, the Future of Coaching underneath our Super Coach brand. So excited that you're here. Today we are talking about front end offers, and not everyone is ready to commit to your core program on day one. This is just the way it is. I run gyms, we do hybrid coaching, we do online coaching, and very rarely do people just jump into our main offering. Sometimes they do because they already know us, like us, trust us, and they're ready to get in. But a lot of people don't. So we have to put in this thing that a lot of people call a front end offer or a low barrier offer. I like to think about it as a bridge. Okay. It's a bridge to our core program, right? Now, if you missed a few of the earlier episodes inside of our monthly theme of conversions and offers, go back to those ones, because in order to do this one, in order to do our front end offer, our bridge, we need to have a great offer. Like, what is our main core offer? That was last episode. We also need to understand our customer at a deep, deep level. We call it a layer 3 level, right? That was the first episode, right? So if you don't have those pieces dialed in, you need to do that work first. That is a prerequisite to what we're going to do today. Because if we don't have a core offer, our front end offer doesn't really matter. And if we don't understand who we're talking to at a deep, deep level, layer 3, none of this really matters. And we need to figure that out first. So we want to take someone from interested to our core program, but that gap might be too big. And that's where we add this bridge, which is a front end offer, because asking for 6 to 12 month commitments from someone who just met you can be a bit of an ask, right? We need to build that trust, right? It's kind of like this whole concept of like proposing for marriage on the first date. I think I actually used that part of the copy for this particular episode, right? We wouldn't do that. It's weird, right? So let's not do that in business too. So today I'm going to show you how to use front-end offers strategically, not desperately like I see a lot of coaches doing, right? We want to use these programs, these short-term programs, to warm people up, right? To prove that your method works. And then ultimately to transition them, because that is the goal here, is to transition them into the next step, which is your core program. Too many times I see coaches using their front-end offer as their core program. They're running the 6-week challenge, right? And they're not using that challenge as a method, as a bridge into their core program. And this isn't like low ticket kind of high volume type stuff either. We need to be very strategic with our bridge so that we're converting people into long-term clients. So, all right, let's get into the first section. Why do front-end offers even exist, right? Because the commitment gap is real. Front-end offers are simply a bridge to take someone to our core offer because maybe they're not ready to jump into our core offer, right? We're asking a stranger to trust us for our 6-month coaching program, right? They don't know if our method works, right? They don't know if they'll like us as a coach, right? And so me having to commit to 6 months, like there is no out, right? The risk feels too large, right? So the traditional approach that most coaches take is if they're not selling their core offer, they panic and they drop their prices and they race to the bottom because they think that it's too expensive. So they ultimately just create like a cheap version of their main offer. And there isn't like a bridge or there isn't a system to take people to their core offer, right? Which then in turn starts to attract people who are attracted to the lower price points. Right? And if your core offer is a lot more expensive, right? We're just getting different types of people, right? The people that shop at a used car dealership are much different than the people that shop at a Ferrari dealership. Right? There's no good or bad. People aren't better or worse. It's just they're different types of people that want different things. So if I'm selling a really, really, really cheap front end offer, the likelihood of those people converting into my more expensive Ferrari core offer is just really low. Right. So we just got to make sure that everything matches. Right. And then like at the end of the day, the last thing you want is a full roster of people that aren't paying you very much and the commitment level isn't very high, right? So we can use our front end offer as a bridge, right? It's not the destination, it's a bridge from someone that's interested in who we are and what we do and think that we can probably help them to our main offer where we can really help them, right? It's designed to specifically prove your method. That's what we want. Prove your method and build trust. That is the whole goal of our front end offer. It's to prove that you know what you're talking about and that you can get this person to their destination, right? And you build trust throughout this. Front end offers, bridge programs, these are intensive just as much as your core program is. You can't just like think that you can throw people into this and they'll automatically convert. This is their test drive. This is your potential client's test drive of you as a coach and your program. Okay. Right. We want to price them in a way that's accessible, but not cheap. And I'll give you a formula for that later on. And then we want a clear program a clear path to our core program. We should be seeding our core program throughout our front end offer. We should be talking about what people do in our core program or what people have accomplished in our core program during our front end offer. And I'll give you some kind of like strategies around how we can potentially frame these things so that it makes it easier for clients to be able to kind of understand that this is a journey and this is a part of the journey instead of this is the thing. Right. So what makes a front end offer actually work? That's what we're going to break down. So the anatomy of an effective front end offer. Okay. There's 3 critical components to this. The first one is a timeline. Then we want the outcome. And then we want a transition path. Okay. So first we need the right timeline. People do front end offers of all different lengths. Okay, I'm going to give you some personal examples on what we found to be the most effective, but each business is a little bit different. And I've seen people be effective at all different pieces here. Most front end offers, the shortest most go are like 5 to 7 days. So think 1 week. I've seen a lot of success with this in the online world. A couple coaches come to mind particularly. So there is some success with that. Personally, for me, I wouldn't spend a lot of time there, but like anything, we test it. I think the sweet spot is about 21 days to 30 days. So think like 3 to 4 weeks because it's long enough so the client can actually see some results. It's short enough for it to be low risk for the client from a time standpoint, right? And like you're not going to have it's short enough where you're going to be able to charge enough, but it's not going to be too much. And I'll give you kind of a formula here in a second, right? 7 days to me is a little bit too short because it's hard to get a good result in 7 days or a result big enough for someone to think that, hey, this is right for me. It can work. Like let's say you have a macro coaching program. That's like your core program is macro coaching. You could kind of take a piece of that program, right, and make it 7 days so someone start to see some success. Maybe it's like how to properly weigh your food. Maybe that is their outcome for the first 7 days. And if they achieve that outcome, they want to now learn how to actually build my macros to get the results that I want, right? So with the front end offer, we're essentially just taking a component of what our core program is, and then making that phase 0, phase 1, whatever you want to call it, Right? So examples here might be like a 21-day kickstart, maybe a 30-day transformation challenge, 4-week reset program. We actually, inside of Coach Catalyst, we have a 5-day macro coaching program that is the front end offer, the bridge to a longer 30-day macro coaching program, right? So it's right inside of Coach Catalyst. At our gyms, we used to use a lot of 6-week transformation challenges that then led into gym memberships after that, right? People weren't necessarily ready straight for a gym membership. They wanted to join a gym to lose weight. And so we needed to give them the solution, which to us at the time was our transformation challenge. And then they wanted to keep working because they had such a great experience at the gym that they then signed on for a membership afterwards. Okay. So you think about front end offers as this bridge, but it isn't something entirely different. We want to solve a mini problem with our front end offer that then bridges into our core offer. Okay. So you have to think about component number 2, which is the outcome. So component number 1 is the timeline. How long is this thing going to be? A component number 2 is what is the outcome? What can they realistically achieve inside of the time frame that we've chosen? This isn't like full transformation promise, right? But they need to have some sort of outcome. What's the first milestone in that journey? And actually, the best front end offers are the ones that when I solve this problem, it then creates a different problem that I need to solve. That, you know what? You just happen to solve that in your core program, right? And so if you've coached anybody along their journey, you know that it's not just solving problem after problem after problem. It's I've solved this thing that then opens up the box of another problem. Right. We'll go back to kind of the Wang thing. Let's see if I can come up with a good example here off the cuff. But let's say that I've solved the problem of understanding how to weigh my food. Cool. I'm good there. But now I need to solve the problem of like, what should the specific ratio of protein, carbs, and fats be? How many grams of protein should I be eating in a day? Right. And so I understand how to weigh my food. That's great. But like now I don't really understand how much of each I should be eating. So it opens up a new problem. So if you think about yours or use ChatGPT to help kind of come up with some of this stuff, what's like a mini problem that your front end offer can solve? Where when someone solves that, they're like, okay, cool. Like I feel good, but now I have a new problem that I need to solve. Right. And so this isn't about like, if we're talking about like marketing, right? This isn't like transform your entire life in 21 days, right? Maybe it's like lose the first 5 pounds, right? Prove to yourself you can do this. If we go back to episode 1 in our offers and conversions sequence, right? It would have been at the beginning of February. We look at layer 3, right? Let's look at layer 3 and let's kind of solve something from layer 3. So this isn't like a tryout coaching or sample program, stuff like that, that just doesn't feel right. It's really phase 1 of your program, right? And let's have an outcome. So we have a timeline, we have outcome, and the third component is the transition path. It should be very clear on how we transition someone from our front end offer into our core program. Right? There should be a clear path. If you have the capacity and you're not dealing with massive volume, the easiest thing that you can do here is do a call with them if it's 4 weeks long in week 3 or the beginning of week 4 or the end of week 3. We don't want to do it after the program is done. We want to do it before the program is done. We want to assess what kind of results they've gotten so far. And we want to start mapping out what the next 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks looks like. So we're providing a ton of value, but we're seeding, here's what's coming next, right? And we are talking about the transition from day 1. Day 1, we're laying out what the 21 days, the 28 days looks like. And between like day 10 and 14, so kind of like at the end of week 2, beginning of week 3, we're starting to talk about what happens when they finish this program or graduate from this program into the next thing, right? And then we're presenting that core program as the next natural step. Like I said before, the biggest mistake most people make is not talking about the next step until after it's over. They're excited. They're getting results. Let's get them committed to the next one because we know that's what they need. We know that's what they need. So let's plant the seed early, get them committed before it ends, and then just naturally transition them right into the next phase, right? So those are the 3 things we need to define: a timeline. We need to define what is the outcome we want these people to actually achieve in that timeline. And then finally, what does the transition look like? Do I have all of that mapped out so that the transition is really easy? I know when to follow up with who at what point, and I know what the conversation is going to be about. Always lead with value in those calls. Always lead with value. Display the progress they've made so far, and then talk about kind of future pace them for what's coming next, and then invite them into the program. Okay. Pretty simple. Simple to talk about. Execution is a little bit harder, right? We have to do the work. All right. Next thing we want to talk about, how do we price this thing? Okay. How do we price it? Most people just think front end offers are cheap. It should not be cheap. Okay. There is an actual like formula here. Your front end offer should be about 33%. So think like a third of your core program, right? So if your core program, right, is, let's say for easy math, $1,500, $500 a month for 12 weeks. So $500 a month for 3 weeks, right? If you're running kind of a 28-day intro, right, it should not, I should have picked better numbers. Let's go 600, just to make it easier. 600. So your program is $1,800 a month for 12 weeks. That gives us 600 each month. Okay. A third of that is 200. Okay. So your front end offer, $200, right? We don't want to go below that. That is a third. If we go below that, we're going to start attracting a different customer. So we want to be close to what our price point is. And I'll give you another example of one. How we used to price 6-week challenges at my facility was we actually took the price of training. Let's say the price of training of 3 times a week was $400 at our facility. Now, if we're running a challenge, right, 6-week challenge, it's 6 weeks of training. So that would technically be $600, $400 every 4 weeks, right? Add 2 weeks, half 400, 600, right? You follow? So $600. So I would price the challenge at $599. Okay. Yes, they're getting nutrition and other coaching that comes along with it. So that's where the discount comes from. But now, after they've completed the 6-week challenge, our monthly price is $400. So it's really easy for me to transition into that, right? So that's where I like front end offers that have a little bit more meat to them. If they solve a specific outcome, which allows me to charge a little bit more, and then it makes the transition easier. I'm going to have a much higher conversion rate if I'm a little bit closer in price. So figure out how to get closer in price. But an easy thing is we shouldn't be more than a third of what your core program costs. So this is not a watered down version either. Think about it as phase 1 of a multi-phase program. If your core program is, let's say, 6 months long, let's break that thing down into 4 phases. Phase 1 is your bridge. Phase 2 is your first 2 months, 8 weeks. Phase 3 is the next 2 months, 8 weeks. Phase 4 is the next 2 weeks, right? So we have essentially 7 months is the total program, right? Well, we've broken down into phases and give the phases names, make it fun. For us, I'm trying to think. So our Project Orange, I'm trying to think of the name of our phases. So we have reset, rebuild, refine. Okay. And we have a specific goal for each phase, right? Reset for us is all about resetting what we're eating. So it's a whole food approach. That is the goal with phase 1, is to get back to eating whole foods. Phase 2 is rebuild. So in rebuild, we're going to start looking at protein. We're going to start looking at sleep. We're going to look at these habits and behaviors that help us build. And then phase 3 for us is refine. So now we get to really dive into the amounts, right? So we're going to be talking about macros. We're going to talk about weighing our food, and we're going to talk about tracking, because that's an important part in refining exactly how much our body needs in order to be successful. But it's part of a progression. It's a natural progression that people go through. Give it names. Names make it real. It makes it a whole lot easier. Okay. So we don't want to go after low ticket front end offers, because it's the wrong customer that's coming to us, right? We want a bridge that is 30% or higher of our core offer. Okay. All right. So then the transition phase, or the transition strategy, we should talk about quick. So the transition should feel inevitable. It's part of the program. It shouldn't be a surprise at the end. So we're building it in from the beginning. So let's say we have a 4-week program, right? Weeks 1 and 2, like, they're into the program, they're learning, they're building habits, they're seeing early wins. We use language around, this is setting you up for what comes next, right? We're just planting the seed that this is the beginning, right? Maybe we throw in a testimonial or 2 of people that have had success, right? So they see like what is possible, right? Week 3, now we're getting into that like midpoint check-in. This is where we want to schedule the call, right? Here's what I'm seeing as a coach. We're doing a quick review of their program. Here's how much progress you've made, right? And then you can start to see, hey, we're going to be talking about what's next, because you told me at the beginning that your goal was X, Y, and Z. In these 4 weeks, we're not going to get all the way there. We're going to make some great progress towards it, but you're going to need X, Y, and Z in order to finally hit your goal. And here's a path forward, right? And so we're not really making this a sales conversation yet. We're just kind of talking about what's next. And then if you do want to add like an early bird or something like that, you can play with some stuff there, where if they commit, they decide to jump on the next one, You'll add something. I would add an extra call. I would do a value add, not necessarily a discount. We don't want to discount our services. We want to just value add to them, right? You've spent 3 weeks building trust. So this should be an easy conversation as long as we've been engaged. This isn't a set it and forget it type of thing. Be engaged from the beginning because that's going to make conversions much, much, much better. And then people have a few different options. They're ready to go. Boom, they sign up. Great, cool, let's go. This should be probably more than 50% of clients. Option 2 is they're just not ready to make the next commitment. Cool. Keep them in your world, keep delivering value, keep doing your newsletters, all those kind of things. They may jump into your core program later because maybe right now wasn't the right time. Maybe financially it didn't work. There's plenty of reasons, right? Or this is just all someone needed, one and done, and they move on. Cool. No hard feelings. You got paid for it. Like you're good, right? And so that's why we want to make sure that we're pricing this correctly. So if we have people that do, like we feel good about it at the end of the day. Hopefully this is helpful in getting your brain thinking about this idea of front-end offers, but I want you to think about it more like a bridge. This offer should make sense with our overall strategy and our overall core program. This isn't like a desperate plea to go get clients or a low ball to try and just get a bunch of people into a program. It's a strategic play. It's a strategic play to get people into our core programs because the jump to our core programs may be too big. And that jump is too big because we haven't spent enough time. We haven't built trust, right, with this client. And so this bridge program or front end offer allows us 21, 28 days to build trust with that client, prove that we can help them as a coach. And it's for us as a coach too. We can see, do we even like working with this client? Right. Because I would rather say no to a client that's going to be a headache and a front end offer than have to kick them out of a core program. Right. You'll probably just put up with it all the way to the end and just be a little bit miserable or just dread every time you have to talk to that client. Okay. So think about this as a strategic on ramp, not as like a cheap option. Like we're not looking for like quick cash here. The goal is long-term clients. So if we're going to use a challenge, great. Use it as a bridge to your core program. Don't just, unless you have like a massive audience and a huge following, you can run challenges to pay the bills. Great. But most coaches can't. So we use it as a bridge to the next one. So that's it. That's front end offers. If you didn't listen to episode 1 and 2, if you haven't really defined a layer 3 of your clients, go listen to episode 1. And then last week on the episode, we talked about, I'm drawing a blank right now. I can't remember what I talked about on episode 2. Offers. There you go. So episode 1, layer 3 of the client. Episode 2, offers. Once we have our offer, now we come into episode 3 today and we develop the bridge to that offer. Okay. Next week, we're going to wrap it all up. I may not be live next week because I am going to be enjoying all the stoke. I'm going to be in BC in the mountains and it's going to be awesome. And they've got a ton of snow and I'm super excited. So that's all we got for today. My name is Trevor. I'm the CEO of Coach Catalyst. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. Now get out there, change some lives. See you.